What's up, you guys? It's Susie from HeyGrillHey.com, and today we're smoking a big, beautiful slab of spare ribs. We're keeping it old school, simple on the seasonings, no sauce, and I think we're gonna do these on my new Masterbuilt gravity fed. So let's get started. Welcome to a slab of smoked spare ribs. These are big and meaty and beautiful, and they're also a little bit cumbersome, so we're gonna trim them down a little bit. We're gonna keep it pretty simple. Let's talk about smoked spare ribs for just a quick second. These guys come from the lower portion of the rib closer to the belly, which means they have a ton of beautiful fat in them. And as they smoke, all of that fat starts to render, all of these tough connective tissues start to gelatinize, and it makes for a really delicious, meaty rib. There's also some cartilage pieces and some, unique cuts on a spare rib that we need to take care of before we start cooking so that we have the most even cook possible, most delicious flavors, and the easiest to use end product. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start by taking off this flap on the back side of our ribs. It's not going to smoke down and cook into anything, but this piece is absolutely delicious for seasoning and high temperature grilling. So I wouldn't throw this away. It's super yummy. All you need is a sharp knife. Just run it along against the ribs. Just trimmed off some of that membrane on the backside, this thick white piece right here. And just separate it from the meat. And then that little thing is ready to just like save and cook up while you're smoking your ribs. And you can have a little treat. Once we've got that flap off, I'm gonna remove the membrane along the backside of the ribs. I usually just do this by working my fingernails or a butter knife against the bone underneath the membrane, lifting it up, grabbing it with a paper towel, and pulling it away. This one's coming off in sections today instead of one nice piece.
Everyone's judging you right now.
I don't care. It's not always gonna come off in one clean piece. That was a pain in the butt. Maybe if I had gloves my actual size, it would work. But I've got Todd's gloves today. All right, next up. See this thin little tail down here? Chances are real good that's not gonna smoke evenly with the rest of this thick rack of ribs. So I'm just gonna take it off, clean up these ends a little bit. And again, you don't have to discard this. You can actually season it and smoke it alongside your ribs. Just plan on it being done a little bit earlier, and then you can have a snack. Last up for me on the backside is this big chunk of bone right here. Now, some people leave it, some people take it off. I like to take it off only because it's hard to slice the ribs evenly at the end of the cook when this big hunk is still on there. So I take it off now, smoke it alongside this tail right here, and I know it'll be done a little bit earlier, and then I can just munch on it. But you usually need to take off about an inch of this bone segment right at the top. Beautiful. Now, if you wanted to trim these down all the way to St. Louis spares, which is typically what you see on the competition circuit, you just take your knife and run it straight across the top right here to square that whole thing out with where we took out this bone piece. But since we're smoking these as whole spares, that's really all we need to take off. If you see any big chunks of fat or sinewy pieces that you think are just gonna crisp up and not come together, you can take those off also. Flip these over and just check the top of your ribs for any super fatty deposits. I'm gonna trim down this side just a little bit right over here. These guys are looking pretty good to me. Means it's time to season. Now, you can season these however you like. I have a homemade rib rub recipe on my site, or you can use a combination of seasonings that I'm gonna be using today. I'm gonna start with a layer of my sweet rub. This will give me a good brown sugar base, a nice caramelized crust on the outside of the ribs. I'm gonna top with a little bit of my beef seasoning so that it's not super sweet. And then I'm gonna crack some fresh black pepper on top, which is gonna give me a little bit of that Texas style rib flavor that I'm super into. Now these ribs aren't getting any spritz. They're not getting any sauce. They're not getting wrapped with anything. It's just the meat, the seasoning, and the smoke. So I want to do my part to make sure that the seasoning here is on point, which is why I'm layering, adding a couple different things. It'll all come together beautifully in the end. Once your seasonings are on, use the palm of your hand to really press those seasonings into your meat. It's kind of going to smash all those seasoning layers together, give us a nice even coating, and our seasoning is not going to fall off when we put our meat on the smoker. Flip them over, repeat on the back side. Come here, Todd, I need you to twist this. Do it together. I got a meaty hand. Okay. Thank you for your assistance. Press it in on the back side. And then I like to go straight from seasoning to the smoker. We're cooking these on the Masterbuilt Gravity Fed today. I've got it preheated to 250 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm using hickory chips because I like a really bold, smoky flavor with these ribs. Because like I said, it's just the meat, seasoning, and smoke. We're not saucing, we're not spritzing, nothing else is happening, so I want that smoke to be prevalent. These are just gonna go in the center of the grill. We're gonna close the lid and we're gonna let these go without looking at them. I will not lift the lid, I will not peek for the next 4 hours. Usually spares at 250 take me about 5 hours, so I'm gonna start checking temperature and doneness at that 4 hour mark. Remember these pieces that we cut off earlier? These are also going on the smoker. And if you're a scrappy, frugal cook like me, you want to use every bit of seasoning. Actually just roll these pieces around on the cutting board and pick up all of the extra, runoff from seasoning my ribs. And then pop those on the smoker right next to the rack of spares. And I just realized I lied because I told you I wasn't going to look for 4 hours, but those rib tip pieces are probably going to be done in 2. So I am going to peek in 2 hours just to pull off the rib tip pieces so that I have a snack. But other than that, no peeking. Two hours in, my little rib tips are done, which means I get an early snack. After just about exactly 5 hours on the smoker at 250 degrees, our spare ribs are ready to come off. They hit our target temperature of between 200 and 205 degrees Fahrenheit, but more importantly, they hit those tenderness and texture cues that I'm looking for. They felt really good as the thermometer slid into the meat, and as I picked them up, they gave me that nice little split across the meat as it bent in my tongs. So it's time to take them off the smoker. Now these are some naked, dry rubbed ribs. If you're somebody that likes saucy ribs, I would recommend saucing these during the last hour or so with your favorite barbecue sauce. But we just wanted these crunchy, a nice crispy bark on the outside, and all of that tender, fatty, delicious, beautiful spare rib pork meat on the inside. Let's cut a few open, shall we? I mean, that is a rib right there, my friends. Thick, meaty, juicy, beautiful smoke ring. Let's give it a bite test, shall we? Oh, perfect. Clean bite through. Pulled perfectly away from the bone, but the meat didn't all come with it. And these are seriously so moist. There is so much fatty, delicious, juicy goodness in here. I mean, I think maybe just one rib would be enough for me, so a whole rack of spares could feed quite a few people. Sometimes simple is the best with barbecue, you know? Just good seasoning, good smoke, good meat, a little bit of time. That's what it's all about. I hope you guys give these smoked spare ribs a try at home, and if you do, I hope you snap a photo and post it to social media and use my hashtag #HeyGrillHey. That way I can see it and cheer you on your journey to becoming a backyard barbecue hero. And if these smoked spare ribs won't elevate you to backyard barbecue hero status, I don't know what will. These things are bomb. Catch you guys next time.